Here with you guys at 18,500,000. Show me your hand at 18,500,000. There it is at 18,500,000.
It's hard to hear, but he says,
you're going to come in here.
he says, if you want to buy the son of a bitch, then freaking buy the son of a bitch. All right, welcome to the Autopian podcast. Today is a really exciting one because Pebble Beach is in our rear view, and it was epic.
Oh,
yes. Fancy car show you've all heard of. One that I
best car show in the world.
I mean, that's what I'd been told. I was a bit skeptical because it seemed a little fancy for my taste, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. I actually got to wrench on a $2 million car. Possibly a $3 million car.
Up there.
You just didn't know it. That was the best part.
Jason's going to...
Go ahead, David.
Jason's going to talk our ears off about the Myers Manx, which we saw at the Quail.
Yes.
There's
so many good cars.
It's true. We're going to talk about everything. Of course, the Quail is the I don't know how you describe the Quail. It's kind of like it's a newer
Someone
car
told
show.
us it was the more nouveau riche of the shows. That's what
I would say that's accurate. I remember where there was just an open field and nothing happened, and all of a sudden this fancy show came to town, and now it's the place to be. So I think more world premieres for exotic cars in that day than all the auto shows combined throughout the year. Just nuts. But let's talk about that fun stuff.
And we should start, Dave. Maybe let's start with what we drove in there on.
Yes.
Because that's a big deal. What we drove in, the cars we drove in are a big deal. Beau picked them out specifically for us. So, Beau, maybe you ought to just explain what you picked for each of us to roll in it with.
Yeah, well, I'd also like to acknowledge how well we can hear David. Because, David, aren't you somewhere crazy? And where are you? Like some brick building. It looks like you're...
Well,
it looks like you're in the army right now.
I'm in Australia in... 5 hours west of Sydney, near a town called Dubbo. This is a reader named Lawrence's place. Formerly a police headquarters building, turned into a house. It's pretty great.
How many people are in Dubbo? Like, how big is that city of Dubbo? I'm sure we've all heard of Dubbo.
Dubbo is pretty big. You know, it's like 40,000 people probably. But the town that I'm in right now, which I won't disclose because I don't want to dox my host here, has maybe a couple of hundred people in it. It's a very small town. By the way,
did you check the toilet to see if they go counterclockwise? Go check the toilet to see if it goes counterclockwise, and then check your neighbors and make sure it also goes counterclockwise.
I will check. I'm surprised you haven't mentioned this yet, but editors, if you could flip me the other way, I think. Because everything's upside down. Yeah,
they'll do that so we don't have the same problem as before. And things fall up there, if I understand it correctly. You let go of something and it just goes careening into the sky. Is that how it works?
And you never see it again. It's unfortunate.
You never see it again. Man, they should I think major cities have nets over them, and then every week they do a lost and found.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I think if I were to throw this little teacup,
just let go and it'll just careen.
You could catch it. You could catch it over there.
Oh, yeah. I think if we're at the right latitude, I think that's correct. I think that's how things are imported.
But I'm serious. Did you check the toilet? Does it go counterclockwise, like I've heard of on TV?
Well, the problem is I didn't check the American toilet prior to what direction does an American toilet go?
It goes clockwise. It's supposed to go counterclockwise in Australia.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. No, I'll check
your toilet.
I feel like I heard that was a myth, but it might be true. Also, does it have to do with the direction the jets are facing? It's worth checking this Coriolis effect.
That's what I mean. We got to find out.
Yeah, we got to.
What else are we going to talk about? This is important stuff.
All right. Well, yeah. Were we going to talk about? We want to talk about how we drove into Pebble. I feel like that's exciting because it's exciting. I was excited.
Yeah. So, all right. First, before we do that, I need to mention that here in Australia, they love this food. They love schnitzel, German food.
They do. It looks like a map.
They call them snitties. That's their bar food is schnitzel called snitties, and they have like 10 different. It's the most incredible thing. All right, let's talk about the cars we drove into Pebble Beach.
Glad you found your schnitzel.
So Beau picked out the cars. And Beau, explain what you picked for us and maybe tell us why.
Well, I was trying to find something that fit our personalities somewhat. At the same time, it's Pebble Beach, so we had to be a little bit on the fancier side. And so I tried to pick things that fit with our personalities, at the same time fit with Pebble Beach, which was more challenging than it sounds right at the surface. So for myself, I actually drove our GTR1, which is a Ford GT that we built as our own Galpin supercar back 9 years ago. It premiered it in Pebble Beach, and it's got 1,000 horsepower. It's absolutely ludicrous in every way, and
cool
phenomenal to drive. For you, Jason, I thought, well, we've got to keep something in the Beetle family, but Beetle you can't drive to Pebble Beach in, and of course with Porsche, really the 911 is probably the only spiritual successor of the Beetle, so it couldn't just be a normal 911, and tried to find something that kind of harkens back to our youth when we were first getting excited about cars. So in 1984, Rinspeed was just coming on board and built this ridiculous 969, which is a Porsche. It's a slant nose in 84, which is unusual in itself, but a whole custom body car that actually looks like a Ferrari Testarossa. So it's this crazy thing. It's hard to imagine. You got to see the pictures, look it up, go to the site. But this Rinspeed 969 is the craziest 80s car I've seen. It's the most 80s cars I've seen, because look at the stack of EQs and all the DINs that are in the dash, and even to the point of a steering wheel that has a remote control in it. That's just ridiculous. So that was for Jason. And then for David, here was a challenge, because can't drive a Jeep up there, but he's been working on this Oldsmobile forever. So I thought, okay, what's an Oldsmobile project? So as you may or may not know, Shelby's first ground up car was the Series 1, and he used an Oldsmobile Aurora engine on it. So we happen to have one here that's one of the 60 supercharged cars, really cool, black with the red stripes. And so we got David that car to drive up there, and we all met and drove those into Pebble. So that was the thought process.
It was fantastic. I actually really loved the Rinspeed. It was, for one thing, it genuinely felt like a Beetle. Like in my old Beetle, every gear you in, if you shake the shifter side to side, it feels like you're in neutral, because it has so much play. And this did the exact same thing. And when you got it to about 3,000 RPMs, then it changed. Then like the turbos kicked in and it would really move. But up until then, it was delightfully Beetle-like. And Beau's right. Every surface in there was covered with those tiny buttons that all 80s stereo equipment had on everything. Everything had buttons on it. The steering wheel had a useless remote control because the window for the IR you couldn't get to, and there were buttons everywhere, pop-up headlights. But this thing, it's so dramatic looking, and like the Testarossa style strakes down the side. It looks like you plopped a 911 inside a Testarossa. But
good way of putting it.
Everybody loved seeing this. Like everywhere I drove, people would notice, and you just pop up the headlights as you drive by people, and everybody was thrilled. It was just, I loved every second of that thing. It was just a blast.
So the GTR1 is a 1 of 1, right? The Rinspeed 969 is a 1 of
12.
And then the Shelby Series 1, specifically the supercharged version that I was driving, was a 1 of right around 50, 60,
60 something. Yeah, right in there. I think 61, but I'm not sure.
So that car, the Shelby Series 1, it felt a lot like the best analog I can give is like a Jaguar F-Type with a supercharged V8. Just
cool.
Sounds awesome, absurdly powerful. It's not about like, interior quality is not like what it's about. It's kind of like, it's got like Chevrolet Astro HVAC hardware in there.
Tell about the pedals, David. The pedals are amazing.
The pedals. I actually can't believe how.
That was the other thing, by the way. I knew it was unbelievably uncomfortable to drive. I forgot to mention that. I had to find something that was horrific for you to sit in. So I hope that helped.
Because that's on brand for David. If David's comfortable, then that's not what people want to see. Nobody wants to see a comfortable, happy David. They want to see David in a little bit of pain.
I did once sit on a on a pillow on top of a gas tank for 1,000 miles in a 48 Willys Jeep.
Oh, a
across
pillow.
the
Look at
country.
you, Prince.
Yeah. Well, the Shelby Series 1, the pedals, you're basically like facing that A pillar when you're driving. The pedals are so far to the outside of the car relative to the seat. And you know what else is really strange? The park brake is on the left side of the seat. So to get out of the car, you have to hop over the park brake.
It's high too. Like it pulls
it's
up
high,
pretty
like-
damn high.
You could really pierce yourself with that park brake. It's not
Yeah.
great.
It was like David let me
Ergonomics,
drive it.
maybe
It
not
was
as straight.
uncomfortable. Yeah, it
Look,
was
the point is, we look like bosses rolling into Pebble.
We
with
did.
these things.
It was super cool.
100%. It was so much fun just going in our little 3-car convoy. It just felt great. I loved it. One of the best parts.
You know, I have to say
that
though,
was one of my funnest drive-ins at Pebble Beach, and just roll it in there with those cars with you guys. That did feel pretty boss, I got to say.
Yeah.
that GTR 1, I have to. So here's the thing: the Shelby Series 1 has that 4-liter V8 out of the Aurora, supercharged. So when you're driving it, you don't hear a lot from the front, but you hear the exhaust. You can hear the supercharger. You can hear the V8. But if you're anywhere close to the GTR 1, you can't hear anything.
No,
Like
it's
the
deafening.
GTR 1
Yeah.
dominates everything. Like if you're within 100 yards of the GTR 1, I don't care what car you have, you ain't hearing anything but the
I
GTR
bet there were
1.
seismographs going off all over the place when that thing
Yeah.
was driving by.
It was unbelievable.
The best part was anytime I hit the accelerator, I mean, just barely touched it. It was so loud I couldn't communicate on the walkie-talkie. And then, it doesn't really like to go at slow speeds, by the way. So it's like a thoroughbred, you're trying to hold on to. And then the whole crew stops to pay the bill at the gate. And I'm going freaking out. No, this thing is, you don't understand. We got to keep this thing going. Oh my gosh. It's a little temperamental is what I'm saying, but it was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Oh, but noisy. Oh yeah, it is, but in a great way.
And then
Well, once
when we get in, this isn't a big deal. When we get in, we pull over to park to take photos. And this is maybe one of my favorite things that happen all through the week is we pull in and we're parking and we're talking to people, and this amazing looking blood liver red Fiat comes rolling in. It's not any Fiat. It's what they call the Auto Vu, the V8 Fiat supersonic.
8V.
8V. Yeah, because they thought Ford had trademarked V8 when they made their V8 car. So they did 8V. Anyway, David, you just tell what happens when this car comes rolling in.
So yeah, it was just this red Fiat supersonic. I actually didn't know what the car was. It was just some Fiat that I think our video team was pushing, and Matt were actually pushing off the road and into the parking lot because it had broken down. And Matt was like, well, Dave, you wrench on cars, fix this thing. I was like, all right, whatever. It's a Fiat. It's it's old, looks old. It'll be fine. So I talked to the owner and I asked him what's wrong. And he's like, well, I think the fuel pump's bad. I'm like, I'm glad to help. And he hands me a hammer. He goes around the backside of his car and he hands me a hammer. And he's like, hey, there's a fuel
hammer.
pump underneath. So these
Was it like a
Fiats,
mallet or a hammer?
It's like a metal-headed hammer, wasn't it? It was
it was big. All I remember was it was a hammer. It was like it was a big hammer. It was a legitimate hammer.
Cool.
And so these, I did some Googling later. It turns out the fuel pumps in these engines, these V8s, are they sort of need some assistance. So a lot of people will put an electric pump in to assist it. So he had done that. So underneath there was an electric pump and he thought that was the issue. So I slid underneath the car and he wanted me to tap the fuel pump and I did, but I felt the fuel pump and it was vibrating, and then I squeezed the hose in front of it and it was doing its job. It was definitely producing pressure there. So I didn't think that was the problem. And then, so I asked him to pop the hood and, I looked at the engine and I wasn't sure exactly what was wrong. I asked him, hey, can I take the intake manifold off? Not the intake manifold, but sort of the intake off. And he's like, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course,
so
whatever you need.
So someone from our video teams, or I forgot who, was going to get tools so I can take this intake off. And then I look closely and I see some fuel around the carburetor. I'm like, you know what? I think this thing is just flooded. So I tell him, look, just put the pedal down for a while and we'll let the fuel evaporate. And then from there, we'll see what happens. So, okay, we're pulling up some pictures here. Here's the car.
Yeah, beautiful. It's a stunning
So
looking car, I think.
I think this is one of the most gorgeous designs ever created. It is absolutely stunning to me. I've seen one of these cars a couple of times, and it's breathtaking. Makes you
It
stop
really
in your
is.
tracks beautiful.
It's a Ghia design, and if you look at the roof line, it's dead on. Like Ghia did all their designs and the roofs like this. It looks like a Carmen Ghia from the roof, which is also, I think, a great thing.
So I actually didn't see the backside, and I bet you if I had seen the rear end, it would have clicked that maybe this was a valuable car, because the rear end is just unbelievable.
It's just an old Fiat.
Yeah, the front of it, I'm just like, okay, it is an old Fiat. So he puts the pedal down, and he sits there for about 5 minutes, and then he cranks it over, and it fires up, and he's on his way. And then later, I don't know who told me, maybe Jason did.
Yeah.
He's like, that's a pretty rare car. And I look it up. It's a supersonic. And the previous year, one of these cars had sold for $2 million. And then it turns out that this one was the prototype car.
Yes.
So it's probably like a $3 million car
Easy,
that I got to
would
hammer on. Like I hammered. I almost took the intake off with probably a cheap like AutoZone tool set on a $3 million car. But I have to hand it to the guy. Like he drives it. He realizes it's a mechanical contraption, and he's like, "Look, do what you got to do. Just get it going." He wasn't like being precious about it.
Yeah.
And that's what's so cool about it. It's like
Still just a car.
Yeah.
he's still a car person. He
car
realizes
person.
it's a machine. So it was really cool.
That's a
And
yeah.
then we saw it on the lawn at
That's
Pebble
right.
Beach, and it's there because of you, David. You saved this car.
That's
Good
right.
job.
Yeah, good job, David. I don't think
I
he
mean-
wanted to talk about it on the lawn because he was a little nervous, but he should have
Well, it's
given
just-
you.
What a gorgeous car.
I think he would have. I think he would have the next morning if he tried to start it up. It being just a flooded car, but it would have run. But I'm just glad to have been able to wrench on something this cool.
I just
Yeah,
want to
no.
give you some credit here, pal.
It would have. This thing would have ended up in the ocean if it hadn't. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You saved
You just would have pushed in the ocean out of frustration, but you saved it. Priceless prototype, supersonic. It's amazing. Anyway,
So, okay, after this, after we rolled in on these 3 priceless machines and I wrenched on this priceless machine, the next day, I think it was the next day was the quail, or the next day I think was the quail.
It was also your birthday, which was
Right.
really exciting. Driving it on your birthday, and got together for a little birthday dinner and celebration, and we're. I loved how the guys were trying to get you liquored up, and you actually had a couple tequila shots, which is very
you did.
unlike David.
They were not just shots. They were like, hey, Dave, it's your birthday. You want to take a shot? Each of the shots were at least 2. They were 2 shots. They were
yeah,
these big things.
it was at least 2 shots in a glass.
So those of you at home, David doesn't really drink. I don't drink, and so he's like, "What's something really mild that I can get? Something maybe a little foo-foo, something." He goes, "I don't know what to get. What do you guys think?" And then he goes, "Long Island iced tea, please." Like, what are you talking about? So you take like the booziest booze drink, and then gets that, and then the guys start ordering him tequila shots. So I think he went from teetotaler to tequila drinker. in about 5 seconds.
Totaler.
Long Island iced tea tastes like lemonade to me. It's a dangerous drink. But yeah,
It is.
the next day was, I don't think I realized it, but like the next day was kind of pretty much shot on me. I mean, in some ways I was like seeing myself from above. It was not good.
You're too young for that. Yeah, you're in good shape.
Yeah,
all
you're
good.
fine.
No, that was a great night. Having a birthday over Pebble Beach is, especially hanging out with, Beau and his crew. It is a good time. It's
It was
awesome.
It's
a
the way
fun
to do
time.
it. Yeah, it was a blast. And you got to eat caviar? Is that your first time? You must have had it before, right? Or no?
I think I might have had, so in Sweden
Chicken caviar.
you can get like little they're like toothpaste tubes of
Oh, I've seen
caviar.
that. Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah, you just squirt
But
in your
trust me,
toothbrush.
trust me,
I want a
it's not the same.
toothpaste tube of fish eggs. I don't know why.
Yeah.
That sounds like cool.
No, it's not the same thing, but it's it's pretty great. But this was on a different tier.
Yeah, no joke. It was good.
Good stuff. All right. What was the next day? What did we do? I can't even remember.
Is that
Okay,
quail?
we went to the quail, and actually,
Oh,
while we're
wow.
talking about caviar, we should talk about the line that they have there every year.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's real. It makes no sense to me.
It is astounding. Yeah, they have a literal caviar line. Like you get in line for a corn dog, but it's caviar. And it's
Well, the difference is you pay for a corn dog. This is free caviar.
Free caviar.
And, yeah, not for nothing, but yeah, I usually start off at the quail if I get to go. Like I find that line and I get in it. You know what I'm saying?
Like
I
when
want
else
my
are you
free
going to
bite of
encounter
caviar.
that? Right. When
Yeah.
else in life are you going to get? And it wasn't just like a little sample. It was like a whole row, and they're just like piling it on. It was like a caviar buffet. It's just like
We might have held on there a little bit long. We might have kept, eating a few of those. But yeah, what else are you going to get free caviar?
Yeah, you're not. No, if you're not taking advantage of the free fish eggs, you're just doing it wrong.
Caviar line. No, I have to say they were pretty good.
And the best part was we stuck in with our media passes, so it was really really special.
Oh yeah,
This
that
is
was
how
We didn't even have to really pay for it. I don't tell them that.
completely free caviar.
Journalists are kind of.
This journalism
It's
thing.
ridiculous.
It's got some perks.
But yeah, if journalists are like the kind of the, I don't know, the slime balls at these like
Oh, yeah.
fancy
Absolutely.
Well, I wouldn't say
Parasites.
that.
Parasites. Yeah.
So to put it in context, like imagine the quail's like at a golf course, similar to Pebble Beach, except it's like a commercialized Pebble Beach. So basically around the whole perimeter are booths set up by major OEMs as well as manufacturers that you may not have heard of. So when I said it before, I literally mean I believe there were more premieres of exotic cars at the at the Quail than all the car shows combined all year long in one afternoon or one morning.
I believe that for supercars in that level, I think you're absolutely right. No question.
So we
It's a big
saw
deal.
the new Bugatti. I don't even know what it's called.
Oh, yeah, the
convertible
Mistral.
for the first time.
The
Yeah,
Mistral, I think. Yeah.
So Porsche's there showing the GT3 RS.
The new Polestar.
The new Polestar was shown there, the
Yep.
convertible, that's super cool. You got Koenigsegg, and Christian von Koenigsegg is there answering questions.
McLaren.
McLaren, and then the small manufacturers like Manx is there.
Yeah.
So, in addition to that, then in the middle of the field are the cars that kind of compete in a class similar to Pebble Beach. So you have all kinds of, we had minis this year and all
yeah.
kinds of different exotic cars, which is really cool. But it's this interesting blend of food, people, and interesting automobies and
It's
new
true.
premieres. So it's kind of the best of new and old.
It's actually it's not like a niche fancy car show. Like it's become it's like an industry show. I mean,
Yeah, it almost is now.
if you're a journalist, you sort of have to you got to go there. I mean, you gotta see what's debuting. It's it's a real deal.
Can we talk about the
the-
Manx really quick?
Oh, absolutely. Let me just pull up a couple
Best.
pictures of it.
Because that was
This
a treat.
was so much fun because I've
And what
been
made
hearing
it-
about this. The original Myers Manx was an iconic automobile, and
Oh,
Bruce Myers was an icon of our industry. And the fact that they're bringing this back, Jason, tell us about it. This is so cool.
It's so cool. So, yeah, everyone knows about the original Manx. It's basically the archetypal dune buggy. When you imagine a dune buggy, this is the image that comes into your head. Bruce Myers, who made the original one, was a sculptor. It was fiberglass built on a VW pan, and now they're remaking it as an EV. And what's amazing is we got to talk to Freeman Thomas, the guy who designed it, and who's also the guy behind the Audi Tt and the new Beetle and like a whole bunch of other kind of like modern iconic cars, like a fantastic designer. He did, I think,
He really
such a
is.
good job like updating the old Manx design to something completely new. But it still feels like, I think it's, they didn't go like a clean sheet thing. They just did really smart updates. It feels modern, but classic at the same time. I just can't say enough good things about how they handled this, like dealing with something that is like a design icon. And then also I do want to point out, it does use the exact same front axle beam that the original Manx used, that 20 million Beetles have used. Basically a 1938 axle design on a car, an EV from 2022. I just find it exciting. They claim they're going to make a new one, but honestly, why would they bother? I think that thing will work fine. There's the original Manx we're looking at now. And everybody, if you don't know what these look like, they're like kind of a flowing fiberglass body that's like short, because they shorten a Beetle chassis, big wheels, separate
No roof.
headlights. No roof, a very square windshield. I mean, it's when you picture Dune Buggy, this is it. And they did such a good job, and all the details are great. It's got kind of more practicality than before. There's a little storage under the front. The taillight design also fantastic. They took basically like the Beetle early 60s taillight design and turned it into something really modern and sleek looking. I thought it was great. I was very excited.
I gave it a 10 out of 10. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. It was like the best of the past and the best of the future combined. And it's just fun. And it shows that EVs can really go places we haven't thought of previously, maybe. And let's have fun with this thing. I thought it was one of the coolest things ever.
You know what kept happening during that show is I would end up talking to someone or doing something, and then only later realizing how epic it was. Like, we were talking to Freeman Thomas, and I just hadn't thought of the name, but my very first like car love, the first car that was my first favorite car was the Audi Tt, because I grew up in Germany, and that's where I really fell in love with cars, was in Germany around.
They're amazing looking. Yeah.
And he designed it, and the Audi Tt is just, it's so great.
And then you were there talking to him. That's amazing.
It's a good thing I didn't realize it. I would have talked his ears off about the TT, I think.
No, Freeman's a great dude. By the way, we filmed some of this. It's great videos that we shot. So if you go to Autopian.com, they're there. Check them out. They're fun. And very informative, by the way. We do nice deep dives in this thing. Very cool.
You know what else we have on the Autopian? Beau's first article.
That's right.
I wrote an article. Barely.
This is a big deal.
You guys helped me out a lot. Thank you very much. So
talk about this car, Beau, because it's interesting.
So I actually am a real geek for pink and purple cars. I mean, that just is my thing. I had stories when my dad ordered 1967 pink Mustangs, and that was like a Galpin thing. So pink vehicles and purple vehicles have my heart. So
we don't kink shame, so that's totally fine by us.
Thank you. So so when I kept walking by this, saying, guys, we got to go check out this Hispano Suiza, and it's a classic name. Now we're seeing a lot of classic names come back. We saw DeLorean there. What's another one? Myers Manx. We were just talking about.
They try to bring back Stutz like half a dozen times in the '60s. Like, it happens a lot. There's certain names they always are going to keep trying, and Hispano Suiza is certainly a famous one.
And they try, but a lot of these are just buying the name, right? But what's really amazing, we found out, is actually it's been in the same family, and this is the great grandson of the founder is the president of the organization. So I thought that's cool that it stayed within the family, and now this family, it's a huge. I guess one of the biggest companies in Spain is now building this Hispano Suiza. And that parent company actually developed, from what we understand, the battery technology and the platform as well. So it's really an in-house built hypercar from a brand that's been around 120 something years, but hasn't built a car since, I think, 1946 or something like that. So it was really cool to look at. It's like this. What color is that? Pink, purple?
That's purple. That's fiercely purple.
But the shade is something. It's I got to learn my colors better, I guess. But it's exposed carbon fiber, which you really don't see on that light of a car typically. Just absolutely gorgeous. And then what was really cool, they called me and said, "Hey, Beau, can we bring it by Galpin and show it to you?" So
wow.
They brought it by, and I got to see, it's one thing to see it. And by the way, another cool video the guy shot seeing it on the lawn at Quail next to the other exotic cars. But I got a chance to see it at Galpin, and then they asked me if I wanted to take it for a drive. And of course I said yes. So I got to drive this $2 million. Basically, it's like going into a museum, jumping on top of a sculpture and riding the sculpture down the street. That's the closest thing I would say to it. It floated. It was amazingly powerful. I didn't get a chance to put it through its paces, like through the hills or anything, but boy, it's a true hypercar, and it looks like one too. I don't think I've seen anything else on the road like it. But
the doors sort of pop up like what other car has doors like this? They're not quite like Lamborghini doors almost, but not quite
similar. But they Lamborghinis just kind of scissor up, and these do a secondary turn. Like they move on two axes.
Yeah.
They're like butterfly wings, kind of.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and the rear end is just it's like a teardrop. It's incredible.
Rear end is really cool.
absolutely gorgeous. So I think it's really cool that they're relaunching this brand. They're going to build only 24 of these, and then we'll see where the company goes from here. But it's just kind of fun to see something with some history try to make a comeback again. So between Myers Mank and Hispano Suiza, I thought it was some really cool, fun history that's coming back for our pleasure. Well, we'll see.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, the quail was awesome. There was a lot of there was a lot of horsepower there.
And thanks for helping me with the articles, guys. I appreciate that.
Not a problem.
And I was reading the comments, and by the way, so I'm looking at it. One of them's like, "Hey, I love you guys, but all this bad grammar and missed punctuation, I think you should hold yourself to a higher standard." And I couldn't agree more with the guy. And I was on a plane. I wanted to comment back that, hey, it's my first day, so Well,
we should have caught that. That's on us. If there was, also, it wasn't that bad. I mean, I don't know.
No,
we have different ideas.
First off, I will tell you straight up, there was no bad grammar in that article.
Okay,
I will tell you, there will never be bad grammar. Yeah.
By the way, our first meeting of Autopians, the first thing that David Tracy does is give everybody a grammar book, which I appreciated and loved, by the way. So,
see, my view on sort of typos is they happen. If you mistype something, you screw up a spelling, it's not the end of the world. But grammar tells me that you don't care about your craft enough, because you should know these rules. David
and I differ on this. David is a prescriptivist grammarian. I'm more of a descriptive, and we're never going to 100% solve it, but care is taken is the takeaway here.
We're not even going to get into this because it's going nowhere good. So let's move on.
There's probably cars we should be talking about anyway, more than grammar. But
should we talk about the historics? David and I got to go to the historics, which is one of my favorite parts of everything, because that's where you see all these amazing things that you've been seeing on the lawns actually used, and people flogging these. Some of them pushing a century old, and people are just wailing on these things out there. And we saw so many. Like we walked through the paddock.
This is at the Mazda race, Laguna Seca racetrack.
Exactly. And there were famous things I saw, like the Cadillac engine. They just call it the Monster. Have you ever seen this thing? I should have given you a picture, David. But basically, picture something it's shaped like a brick, kind of just like a big slab, and there's hardly any curves on it, and it's got a massive Cadillac engine, and it's known as the Monster. And it was this amazing race car that I've seen it, I've read about it, I've seen it a billion times in pictures, and then to see it there in all its massive, strange glory was incredible. Yeah,
okay, we gotta look at this. This is not
bonkers.
But I love that people are flat out racing these.
Yeah.
Very
this thing. There it is.
Look at this. Oh, that's
the Monster.
Nuts.
That's there.
That's barely a car.
Yeah, it's amazing. Look, you don't even see the wheels on it. Like, they're all skirted.
I don't even know how to describe what we're seeing here. By the way, I thought it was going backwards, and now it's going forwards. What's going on in this picture?
Yeah, you have to picture like a flat, like if you took a bar of soap and you slice the back down a little bit, and you just gave it you just hacked at it a little bit, almost at random, and then you plopped a guy inside part of it, and then the wheels are jammed up in there so you can't see it. That's basically what you're dealing with here. There's a reason it's called the Monster. Yeah, with a hood scoop. It is.
It's a bar of soap with a hood scoop. I mean, it's hilarious.
So strange.
But you saw this racing, huh?
Yeah, I saw it in the paddock, them preparing it, and then it was out on the track, just being literally a monster, just like it is. It is.
Is it fast?
I think it was fast, and for the era, I think it was extremely fast. But
if you're listening to us in the car right now, do not pull over. I mean, don't you? And you need to Google this. Then you need to pull over. Don't do it while you're driving. It's called Le Monster from Cadillac.
It was 1950. Or where does it say there? Yeah, from 1950. It's like mid-century, just strange attempt at trying something new. Le Mans. It's amazing. So that was incredible.
Ugliest race car I've ever seen in my life.
Yes, but it's one of those things where it's so ugly it wraps over to being cool.
I agree with that, but it's still ugly.
It's bonkers. But then I also saw a guy in the opposite extreme. I saw a guy in an Austin A35, like a tiny little car, tiny little car that he was wailing on the track, and he had a bigger motor in, and it was really adorable and just charming looking car. And he had a special shift ball. The shifter knob was a clear piece of like plexi with a mouse skull in it that was found in the car when they cleaned it up. Like when they dragged the car out of a field and cleaned it up, they just cast this mouse skull in there, right in there. It was great. See, like the spectrum of things you see. And then we saw a couple of Lotus F1 cars that our own Hubert Mees, our own engineer, did a crazy deep dive into how they differ in suspension and aero and all these things. Like it's
worth
just like
worth a watch, by the way. I'm just gonna say,
absolutely worth a watch on the Autopian.com.
Yes.
Yeah, that was amazing. David, what did you think? What did you think of walking around at the Historics?
A lot of these cars are garage. I mean, a lot of like really old and valuable cars are garage queens, but this is these are cars that are being broken actively, and you get to see it happen. You get to see $1 million cars get broken, and that's just epic. The sound, a lot of these cars, you know, you see them in a museum and they're static. You don't get the same feeling that you do when you smell the fuel, when you hear their engines and the suspension moving, and like that.
Cars are kinetic. Yeah, they really are. They're not static things. So to really experience them, you can't beat that. It's so good. You're absolutely right.
So I've been there over the years. I didn't get a chance to go with you guys this time, but the most incredible thing that I witnessed was actually watching this race of Cobras. And all original Cobras. These are, you know, every single one's worth over $1 million. Some are worth several million. But the star of the pack was a Shelby Daytona, one of 6, probably a $25 million car that got into a wreck. So it was just crazy to see a $2 million Cobra wreck a $25 million Daytona. And as it's going into the pits, of course, there's like this group that's just following this car, right? This whole crowd, because they want to see it. And it did get pretty wrecked in the back. But unfortunately, they put up, like, you could tell the owner was like a little bit embarrassed. So he like put up drapes around it. And I'm like, what? Gosh, don't be embarrassed. Like, be proud. You actually use your car for what it's intended to. No one else has the guts or the balls to do what you just did. And you know what? So what? You got into a wreck. That's okay. The best of the best have gotten into a wreck. But you should be very proud of your accomplishments.
I agree.
So whoever the owner is out there, and I think I know who they are, you did good. But
that makes it cooler. Show it off. It's like a cool scar. Absolutely, I agree.
But I could tell he's just heartbroken. Ouch.
All right, so I am going to have to wrench on some Valiant Utes here soon. So we're going to have to lightning speed discuss the incredible Pebble Beach experience.
Okay.
There on the golf course. We got up bright and early.
Yeah.
For
saw these things rolling. Dawn Patrol.
Dawn Patrol. That's kind of a big deal, isn't it? It's like
it is. Because there's mist everywhere. All the amazing cars come driving in because they're not allowed to be there overnight. And it's just like a parade in this mist and these incredible cars that things you never see driving around, driving in.
And it's not just a static display. I think that's what's so cool about Dawn Patrol.
Yeah, it's astounding. And should we pick? I know we don't have a lot.
And that's the other beauty about Pebble Beach and the concourse is all these cars are judged on being a car, not on how it looks sitting on a field, but it's got to drive, it's got to run, and it's got to be, if it's restored, it's got to be restored correctly, not over-restored, not with the wrong parts. Every single screw matters, every detail matters in these cars.
Remember the screw, the thing we saw? So one of my favorite cars there
was this screw.
Yeah, it was this. It was called an Oscar, and it was a Michelotti design. It was made in 1959, and it looks like a car from 1966. It's this beautiful red and black, really crisp thing. But speaking of screws, we were looking at the taillight and this tiny, tiny little screw that the taillight had, and we met the guy there who had to hand make that screw. Do you remember what he made it out of? He had to start with like
a rivet.
A rivet. Yeah. So this guy, like, that's the level of detail these people go. He made a screw out of a rivet.
And it was just bigger than an eyeglass screw. I mean,
it was
almost the same size.
Did you send me a picture of that car?
It's this red car right here, the red and black.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite cars I saw. It's stunning. But like, so it was a screw. Yeah, it was a screw in the.
Oh yeah,
groove.
it was like one of these.
Oh yeah, one of those in
Yeah.
the taillight assembly. Tiny thing.
It's so small, so small.
It was, but I just love that. That's the level this guy was willing to like. They were willing to do it. It's astounding. So
But that's what you
good.
get at Pebble Beach. I love the fact that the owner invited the guy who built the screw to be there at Pebble Beach when
Yes.
he presented the car. That's a cool
Totally.
dude right there.
Absolutely,
so
'Cause
cool.
That man deserved to be there. Absolutely
Absolutely.
deserved it. Yeah, no, these were stunning. There were so many good cars. There was the amazing the
Yes.
Talbot Lago. Oh well, there's the Voisin, which is achingly beautiful. It hurts to look at it. All the details in this thing.
Oh, I think this is where Autopian and Pebble Beach kind of combine. I mean, this to
Yeah.
me is so Autopian. It's just so fantastic.
What should people search here? Voisin C25 Aerodyne.
Aerodyne.
So-
And so Voisin was an aircraft manufacturer. So that idea just goes throughout this entire car. Everything is built as light as possible. So you see things in this that you just don't see in other cars of the era. Like there's no shame in fasteners. So he like delights in every bolt that you see there. So they're all obvious and they're all beautiful.
It is awesome.
Things are light and you can see the structure of things. Nothing gets hidden. It's I feel it. Like you go in there, it's just so good.
Well, it's so avant-garde. They got these interiors that are so like dizzying when you go inside, and the whole inside of the Voisin is all of that. The way the roof, it motorizes down to become a convertible, and it has porthole windows.
So no matter what position you
gorgeous.
move this roof, you can still see out the back because it has like 5 oval windows inset into it. It's so good. It's just everyone should just stop and Google it. It's astounding.
What?
We love
Okay.
Voisin.
See, there was one car that it was the most beautiful one there. And you wrote a little article on it.
Oh, yeah.
Let me pull it up here.
Oh yeah, good.
I think we all have different opinions on what the best car there was, but in fact, we'll go around the horn and
But
just
this
discuss.
isn't wrong. I'll say that.
This is
So-
this is the Talbot
it.
Lago. And this one's got a story. So so looking at this car, the front end is strange. It's got a cyclopean single headlight flanked by 2 smaller lights. It's very bulbous. It almost feels mollusky, but above the main headlight are these chrome lines that go up, and they're meant to evoke a zipper because this car was built for the guy who was known as the Zipper King of France, which I just think is
Really? What?
Yeah.
I didn't know
They
that.
called me that in college.
that's who did it, the Zipper
Okay.
King of France, and that's why those lines are there. So yeah, Mr. French Zipper King. The only zipper brand I can think of is YKK. A fine zipper, by the way, and they should be a sponsor of ours.
A great
zipper. Great zipper.
quality.
But I don't know.
Aren't they Japanese?
I think they are Japanese. So it wasn't that guy. It was whatever the French equivalent is. Oh, and then this detail. It had
Oh,
It had-
it's so good.
it had my favorite kind of turn indicators, which are semaphores, which are the little arms that pop out. And we made the people who had the car there like work hard to get these things to work. But it's so good.
I love how
You know what I
made
think is
it.
hilarious?
Now, what of these sold? There's like only a few of these. This is a Talbot Lago. I always mispronounce Fagoni and Falashi. I always say
Yeah, that's
the
right.
last one wrong.
That's the coach build, right?
Yes, but this is, I think, the most gorgeous car in the world. I think there were like 3 made, or this, and that was the only one built for racing, or the one that was sold over the weekend was the only one built for racing, and it sold for, I think, right at $9.5 million. Just
they're
nuts.
They're nuts.
Ooh, crazy.
You know what I don't get? So that's semaphores.
Trafficators, they also call them.
So that
Okay.
is illuminated, and you would think if it's illuminated, because the early ones were not, right? They were just
I
They were
think
just like a
actually
flag?
Trafficators. Well, there probably were some that were flags, but I think almost all of them did have a little light bulb in them.
so they just didn't want to use relays back then, little flasher relays.
I guess. I mean, it's so much extra complexity, but it's,
But it's so great. It's the sound whenever he activated them.
Yeah, just- yeah.
It's so good.
I love that detail. Oh, they're so good.
Oh, what a
All
car.
right, okay. Did you sufficiently describe what a semaphore is? Like it's kind of like a little wing that pops out, right?
Yeah. So instead of a regular turn signal, basically cars used to, especially in Europe, it was just like a little arm that had like a little clear orange plastic bit in the end with a light bulb inside, and it would just pop out like a little arm. And then you make your turn, and it would pop out like a little wing. And then you were done. It would like snap back into the side of the car. It's just ridiculous and fun.
So
All right.
cool.
The next thing we need to discuss, unless you want to talk more about Pebble Beach, I was going to discuss the auction that we saw. Well,
Yeah.
Well,
one
that
of
is
the many
Pebble
options.
Beach, but yes.
That's part of it.
right.
This is fun. See, this is my sports. I love just sitting and watching the auctions.
So Jason and I went to a couple of auctions because, Beau had been talking to us about how much fun they are. And they actually are a lot of fun. Even if you're just sitting there, you get some tacos or whatever you want to eat. You sit down and it's like, it's in some ways it is a sport. You can guess like, okay, here's a car, and you're learning a lot of awesome history. It's also like a game of like, okay, how much is this going to sell for? There are personalities involved. The crowd gets into it, subtly. It's absolutely incredible. And
the energy that you can feel in the room is like, palpable.
It is.
And you also get nervous. Like I was trying to show like David or Matt where I was sitting, and I was going to raise my hand to like call him over. And then I realized I can't do that because I might end up buying, something. Yeah. Don't
wave anybody over. You just need to.
Don't do that. Keep your hands.
And that does happen, by the way, which is hilarious when it does too.
God, that's terrifying. What do you do? Like if that happens, do you just immediately say, no? Do you just panic?
Yeah,
like, what do you do? Okay.
They realize it pretty quick. Yeah.
Oh man.
That's their job. It is a profession.
There was one auction in particular that I think as soon as they started discussing the car, everybody knew this was about to be a big deal. It's often referred to as the Carroll Shelby Ferrari, which is I mean, it is the car that he won. He won more races in this car than in any other car, if I have that right. It is just a beautiful Ferrari race car with incredible pedigree. It would be valuable even if even if it wasn't Carroll Shelby, but you add that in and it becomes, the value of a car is a complex thing, right? It's not just about like whether it was a good car mechanically. That's barely even relevant. There's pedigree, there's design, there's so much that goes into the value of a car. It's extremely complicated. A lot of it's not intuitive. But this one, everybody knew.
Cars that complicates it even more because the race history, how it did. Did it win Le Mans? Things like that.
Who drove it?
Dramatically affect the value of it.
Right. I kind of like that about cars because
they have a story, and that's part of the story.
Value. The story matters, which is great. It's not like just a washing machine. Nobody cares who owned the last washing machine. I mean, I guess if you had someone famous owning one,
Carroll Shelby's washing machine.
I mean, you can tell people at a party.
Marketplace for like $800.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But a little bit, yeah. Man, but to Beau, tell about this auction though, because it got bonkers.
All I can think about is Carroll Shelby's washing machine now.
It's got to be amazing.
That could be worth, right?
It could be worth something.
I think it probably is. But anyway, because people are nuts. So I thought the other thing was really cool about this car. I mean, we've all seen Carroll Shelby's autograph on the dashes of Shelby's, but he actually signed underneath the hood of this car and wrote, Mr. Ferrari said that this is the best car he's ever built. There's something close to that effect.
Yeah.
Which is pretty incredible. So now you got two of the biggest names in the automotive world that have talked specifically about how great this car is. So it is the pedigree of pedigree cars. It is the top of the scale, right?
Also, what phrase could he possibly have written that could have raised the vehicle's value more than saying, Ferrari says this is the greatest car. It's like
this car, this one right here.
There's nothing else. Like, this is the only car. That's just genius marketing right there. Genius. Anyway, I was kind of.
Your timing was impeccable.
So I have to. How I mentioned earlier in this podcast how I was basically running around, just not realizing how epic things were, and then later people would tell me, "Yo, that was a $3 million car," or, "Well, this happened again at this auction." I knew this was a cool Ferrari. I knew it was Carroll Shelby's Ferrari. I wanted to get video of the car because we were sitting so close to the stage, you couldn't see the car. So I went to the back of the room. I didn't want to stand by myself because I thought that'd be weird. So I went to the crowd. So that I was basically in among this crowd of people. And let me just show you the little video here. You're going to realize
I've never seen this happen at an auction before, and this is so weird.
Come on, it is very bizarre. Come on,
because it starts up. This is not an inexpensive car that they're auctioning off. It's, let's just say, many millions of dollars. But what was really weird was exactly what you captured. And that's who was bidding on it. because I think one was on the phone, so you don't know who's on the phone.
Son of a-
But every once in a while, you get these, 10, 20, $30 million car, and the person's in the room. And that's when it gets really exciting. And in this case, the person was in the room who was bidding on it, and you just happened to be there, David, and
Yes.
captured some of this.
I'm gonna try to get this sucker to run.
Is the video not playing? Maybe they can
I
add
will-
it in post.
In any case, you're listening on a podcast. You're not gonna see this anyway, so
Yeah, just
describe
explain
it.
Yeah.
So I go to the back of the room. I didn't want to stand by myself, so I stand next to these two gentlemen, and they're kind of in my way because I wanted to get video of the vehicles on stage, and so I put the phone over their shoulders, so right over, it's right between their two heads as they're talking, and I get the footage of the car, and they're one of them is telling the other one, if you, I think it was something like, hey, if you want the son of a bitch, just buy the son of a bitch, something like that. And then I was like, okay, cool, nice car. And then someone whispers in my ear, this lady whispers in my ear, she's like, you can't be here. And I was like, what? I mean, I know I'm a fraud at this whole thing, but like,
Yeah.
that's a
You
little,
were
that's
expecting
not,
to hear that at any point in this whole week.
that's not exactly subtle.
No.
Anyway, so then I go back to my seat, and then the bidding keeps going, and it's going all the way up to like 18-19 million dollars. And then I realized the person who puts the $20 million bid is one of the guys whose head I had my phone like 6 inches from. Yeah.
Can I tell you who it is, by the way? Because
Please.
this is the weird part. So the auction, there's a few of the largest auctions there. You've got Gooding, you've got Bottom, but you've also got the two big ones, which are RM and Mecum. So RM is one of the biggest, I think the first one I ever went to, and it's RM for Rob Meyer. And Mecum is Dana Mecum. So in the back of the room, I see wandering back there, there's Rob Meyer, who I've known for years, and he's back there, and all of a sudden I see Dana Mecum come in, which is completely bizarre, because he's Dana Mecum from Mecum Auction. So what the heck is he doing at an RM auction? And even more bizarre is, why the heck is he bidding on the most expensive car at Rob's auction? And he is. So the funny thing is, you've got two of the captains of industry, like the two top automotive auction guys, along with like David Gooding and maybe another, that are there giving each other shit about buying this car. That's incredible. It reminds me, remember that scene from 300 when the two kings get together and they, one turns their back on the other. It was kind of like that scene, like completely like, what is going on here? And Rob is saying, what's he saying to him? Buy that freaking car.
Yeah, if you want the son of a bitch, buy it, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up here in a second. We're gonna actually listen to that audio.
You got to see this. Yes. Oh, I hope you can pull it up. Oh, this is. I can't believe you saw this.
So wait,
Well,
the guy who
to be
bought it
clear-
was it the RM guy who bought it?
No, it was Mecum. Dana Mecum.
So these are
Bought it.
two of the heads of the auction houses are one's
The
buying
two
the car.
owners.
Two owners. One's buying the car from the other. It's just hard to wrap my head around. It's like such a tiny community.
Well, they know
Exactly.
each other, and actually, the whole auction world is a fascinating world. Like before the car hits the auction block, the auction house knows who's interested. Like they gauge and they actually will assign someone. I forgot what they call them. They'll assign someone to the person who's interested, right, Beau?
Yeah.
Is that?
Well, come over and sit with you, and then they're talking to you and making your bids, if you'd like them to be there to help. Or if you're on the phone, they'll be the one that calls you and make sure that you get your bid in straight. Or you could just bid straight, which is, also. Oh, here we go.
There it is. All right, let's see.
I can't
All right,
believe
here
you
it
got
is.
this.
Okay.
Okay, you got to watch this. Again, if you're listening, don't crash your car, but go back to your screen when you get home.
Yes, that's right. Not worth crashing your car.
Season when driving for the renowned Southern California
All right, so
based
there's a picture of the car. You can see it. It's nice.
Mhm.
Gonna fast forward. So here we are. We're at
There's Shelby.
so we're looking at.
By the way,
car.
that's Shelby Meyer. That's the son, whose name is
Okay.
Shelby, ironically. He's a great guy.
So here's Torch.
Yay!
This is whose car, Jason? Whose car? Shelby drove it, I know. Carroll Shelby. Yeah.
Good stuff, Jason.
Yeah, I really hit the nail on the head there. I'm really insightful comment.
Jason.
I like your bloodshot eyes and slurring words.
Yeah, that's accurate.
It's been a long
It was a long day.
Anyway, as you can see, the problem is that the car is way over there on the stage somewhere, and we can't see it, and that's just unacceptable. So, oh, look at this. So you can see it's like it's already at 15 million.
Jesus.
And
1955 Ferrari 410.
410
Spider.
Sports Spider, yeah.
This little race car. I'm like, okay, let me get to the back of the room. I want to see the actual car. And it was awkward because I didn't know where to go. So as you can see, there's a lot of open space. I'm like, I can't just stand here. I got to stand like back here somewhere. So I stand right behind this guy here.
I didn't even know you were doing that, which is the best. Who's the owner of the whole auction?
And look, here we go.
There's the owner right there. Yes.
$500,000.
There's Tina Pico.
$500,000.
You're right between them, you crazy guy.
It's you in the room, and it's really up. There are four of you in it. $18,500,000. Showing the depth and quality and the height of the market here at $18,500,000. Here with you guys at $18,500,000. Show me your hand at $18,500,000. There it is at $18,500,000.
It's hard to hear, but he says,
you're going to come in here.
he says, if you want to buy the son of a bitch, then freaking buy the son of a bitch. Hilarious. And I must have looked like an idiot because people must have thought, okay, this dude knows who these guys are, and he's just being a weirdo, with the
I love that you're clueless.
Such a freaking idiot.
Oh, that's amazing.
They get the shot of the car, and the vehicle ended up selling for a total of 22 million, I want to say.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then actually what was great is right after the auction, and you can see everybody's on the phone, and it's like there's a lot of tension. This guy's like, he's got his little earpiece. He's like, oh, I can't go that high. It's just the whole thing is tension, and it's just exciting. And it was actually quite awesome. So that's
amazing.
There it is. The two guys.
That's when I realized right there, those guys, I guess, might have been someone.
I love that you actually got between them.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. And you could have talked to them about
apparently you don't know your auction etiquette, but you get there.
It worked.
Yeah.
You could have talked to them about the awesome Geo tracker you just bought. I'm sorry, Chevy.
Yes.
Chevy tracker. Yeah. You could say, I know what it's like to buy something you haven't driven, fellas. I know the risk.
I've been there. I've been there.
Been there, brother.
All right, but no, it was a great the whole weekend was incredible, and Beau, you were right when you said car people are car people. And what I think? I think fundamentally to care that much about a machine, like it's kind of weird in some ways to really care that much about just a bunch of parts.
We're all weird. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's not that it's weird. It's like you sort of have to be.
No, it's.
I mean,
weird.
look. Yeah, you sort of have to be a certain kind of person to care that much about a bunch of bolts. It's one thing to buy like the newest and nicest car, like the nicest Ferrari or Lamborghini that's brand new. That's different. But these cars require effort. Like you got to find a mechanic. You got to figure out how to get parts.
And there's conceptual effort. Like you have to believe in the story of it. Like that Shelby that's bought, it's not just the effort of keeping it going, your belief that there's value here because of things this car did that you had nothing to do with.
Right.
That's right.
Somehow saturated into the object itself and has value. And that's a fascinating idea, but it's real. Yeah, it's a real thing.
Yeah. How much is the physical property actually worth? How much metal is there? It's the story that actually makes it worth tens of millions of dollars. It's just crazy if you think about it.
I mean, a piece of the true cross is just a piece of wood, except it's a piece of wood Jesus got nailed to. It's the same idea, and just cars instead of.
Do you have some of that or something?
I have a couple pieces of the true cross back here, using to keep a table steady. If you need,
I don't know if that's
because that would be cool.
That was an interesting analogy, but yeah, I mean, look, it's people who really appreciate the story behind cars. People who appreciate history and. They love to retell a lot of the stories. You talk to these owners and they'll say, well, this car, if you look at this design came from this person and there's this weird story. And it's like, these are some cool people. I mean, to really care that much about storytelling.
They're vessels for experiences and stories, and that's why they're not like regular things in our lives. They're car people are weird, but it's partially because cars themselves are weird things.
Yes.
It's different. That's why we're doing this, guys.
Well, it's an emotional object. I mean, how many things, we were talking about washing machines, but how many people fall in love with their washing machine? I mean, not many, but I'm in love with my car. Like literally, like
Absolutely.
true love.
It is. It's a real
It's
thing.
real. It's real and it's weird. And
So
glorious.
Jason, you'd been there before, but David, can I ask you, from somebody who had one perception going there, what was your perception going there? And then what's your perception today after having been there?
Going there, my biggest concern was that it was sort of an exclusive club, and I think cars should be inclusive. But going there, there's still some level of exclusivity. Like some of these shows are expensive to get tickets to, and
Absolutely.
Yeah.
but these are passionate people, I'm never going to denounce people who are passionate about cars. They're legitimate. They're just as legitimate car people as anyone who fixes their own car, because it requires real effort, and they appreciate a lot of the same things that, someone with a Geo Tracker they love appreciates. So it's the same, it's the same community, even if there is some sort of barrier between it. I thought it was, it was absolutely incredible. I really enjoyed it. I mean, going from a junkyard, I'm usually hanging out in junkyards and sort of a totally different world, but I skipped the Woodward Dream Cruise, which is like the total opposite for Pebble Beach. And I'm kind of glad I did. I mean, that was awesome.
Oh, good. And what we didn't see, now we went to Concours de Le Mans, Lemons.
Oh, yeah.
And we did, but you didn't see, there's actually a lot of free events that we didn't get a chance to go to because our schedule was so packed, because there's all kinds of meetups that they have, and just car gatherings and people that just get together to share. And, seeing like that, $1 million supersonic on the road, there's people driving these cars just like they're a normal car, which they kind of are in a way. So
and the Lemons event had some of the best cars of the show. Some amazing things, one-of-a-kind things at the Lemons event, just different kind of one-of-a-kind things.
Love
that is true. I think getting into the Quail and getting into the actual show there on the lawn could be, costs, of course. But honestly, if you're just in town, you're gonna see some cool stuff. And you go to Lemons, you bring a camera. You're gonna have a great time there. Yeah, that's true.
If you're into cars, you really don't need to spend money up there. You got to spend money to go into these events, and of course, there's the restaurants and all the hotels jack up the prices like crazy. But there are just seeing the cars drive by 17-mile drive. It doesn't cost you anything, and you'll see the most beautiful cars. Pick a parking lot, you stay there long enough, you're going to see something amazing pull up, and a gathering kind of happen on its own. So it's definitely a mecca for enthusiasts.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, look, I still, I'm still a huge Woodward Dream. Have you ever been there, Beau, to the Woodward Dream Cruise?
Okay, this is the irony is I've never been to the Woodward.
You know what?
Dream Cruise.
We got to flip this now. You took me to Pebble. As
long as it doesn't conflict with Pebble, I'm in.
True. Maybe it won't next year, and it's a totally different thing, but it's also it's a beautiful thing in a total opposite way.
Okay, I tell you what, as long as they're not conflicting next year, I'll go to Woodward, and then you can ask me my perceptions before and after too. How's that sound?
Heck yeah.
Jason, have you been to Woodward?
I don't know if I've actually ever been to Woodward officially, I'll go too.
We could reverse.
It's worth it. All right.
We'll be the two virgins now.
All right, cool.
I'll show you some weird stuff that wrought iron beetles, Jason.
I know. I've driven a wrought iron beetle once. There's more than one of them, and I adore them. So that's always worth it. Always.
So cool.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening to the Autopian podcast, Pebble Beach edition. This was a great one. That was an incredible weekend. Come back next week or whenever we post these, and we'll get some more great.
We got lots of
watch these videos. They're really great stuff. I'm telling you, we captured some brilliant moments.
It's fun to see that. Yeah, this is a good one to watch because the cars are especially good. So thanks everybody. We appreciate you listening.
Thank you all. Thanks for listening to the Autopian podcast.